Chapter 7. Receiving the Ten Commandments. The receiving of the Ten Commandments by Moses, from the Lord, is recorded in the following manner. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same clay came they into the wilderness of Sinai. And there Israel camped before the mount. And it came to pass on the 3rd day that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the tempest exceedingly loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. And when the voice of the tempest sounded long, and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice. And the Lord came down upon the mount, and called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up. The Lord there communed with him, and he gave unto Moses 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God. When Moses came down from off the mount, he found the children of Israel dancing around a golden calf, which his brother Aaron had made, and, as his anger waxed hot, he cast the tables of stone on the ground, and broke them. Moses again saw the Lord on the mount, however, and received 2 more tables of stone. When he came down this time from off Mount Sinai, the skin of his face did shine. These 2 tables of stone contained the 10 Commandments, so it is said, which the Jews and Christians of the present day are supposed to take for their standard. They are, in substance, as follows: 1. To have no other God but Jehovah. 2. To make no image for purpose of worship. 3. Not to take Jehovah's name in vain. 4. Not to work on the Sabbath day. 5. To honor their parents. 6. Not to kill. 7. Not to commit adultery. 8. Not to steal. 9. Not to bear false witness against the neighbor. 10. Not to covet. We have already seen, in the last chapter, that Bacchus was called the lawgiver, and that his laws were written on 2 tables of stone. This feature in the Hebrew legend was evidently copied from that related of Bacchus, but the idea of his receiving the commandments from the Lord on a mountain was obviously taken from the Persian legend related of Zoroaster. Professor Max Miller says, what applies to the religion of Moses applies to that of Zoroaster. It is placed before us as a complete system from the first, revealed by Ahuramazda, proclaimed by Zoroaster. The disciples of Zoroaster, in their profusion of legends of the Master, relate that one day, as he prayed on a high mountain, in the midst of thunders and lightnings, the Lord himself appeared before him, and delivered unto him the book of the law. While the king of Persia and the people were assembled together, Zoroaster came down from the mountain unharmed, bringing with him the book of the law, which had been revealed to him by Ormuzd. They call this book the Zend-Avesta, which signifies the living word. According to the religion of the Cretans, Minos, their lawgiver, ascended a mountain, and there received from the Supreme Lord the sacred laws which he brought down with him. Almost all nations of antiquity have legends of their holy men ascending a mountain to ask counsel of the gods, such places being invested with peculiar sanctity, and deemed nearer to the deities than other portions of the earth. According to Egyptian belief, it is Thoth, the deity itself, that speaks and reveals to his elect among men the will of God and the arcana of divine things. Portions of them are expressly stated to have been written by the very linger of Thoth himself, to have been the work and composition of the great god. Diodorus, the Grecian historian, says, the idea promulgated by the ancient Egyptians that their laws were received direct from the Most High God has been adopted with success by many other lawgivers, who have thus ensured respect for their institutions. The supreme god of the ancient Mexicans was Tezcatlipoca. He occupied a position corresponding to the Jehovah of the Jews, the Brahma of India, the Zeus of the Greeks, and the Odin of the Scandinavians. His name is compounded of Tezcatepec, the name of a mountain, Tlil, dark, and Poca, smoke. The explanation of this designation is given in the Codex Vaticanus as follows: Tezcatlipoca was one of their most potent deities. They say he once appeared on the top of a mountain. They paid him great reverence and adoration, and addressed him, in their prayers, as Lord, whose servant we are. No man ever saw his face, for he appeared only as a shade. Indeed, the Mexican idea of the Godhead was similar to that of the Jews. Like Jehovah, Tezcatlipoca dwelt in the midst of thick darkness. When he descended upon the mount of Tezcatepec, darkness overshadowed the earth, while fire and water, in mingled streams, flowed from beneath his feet, from its summit. Thus, we see that other nations, beside the Hebrews, believed that their laws were actually received from God, that they had legends to that dialect, and that a mountain figures conspicuously in the stories. Professor Ort, speaking on this subject, says, "No one who has any knowledge of antiquity will be surprised at this, for similar beliefs were very common. All peoples who had issued from a life of barbarism and acquired regular political institutions, more or less elaborate laws, and established worship and maxims of morality, attributed all this, their birth as a nation, so to speak, to one or more great men, all of whom, without exception, were supposed to have received their knowledge from some deity. Whence did Zoroaster, the prophet of the Persians, derive his religion? According to the beliefs of his followers and the doctrines of their sacred writings, it was from Ahuramazda, the god of light. Why did the Egyptians represent the god Thoth with a writing tablet and a pencil in his hand, and honor him especially as the god of the priests? Because he was the Lord of the divine word, the foundation of all wisdom, from whose inspiration the priests, who were the scholars, the lawyers, and the religious teachers of the people, derived all their wisdom. Was not Minos, the lawgiver of the Cretans, the friend of Zeus, the highest of the gods? Nay, was he not even his son, and did he not ascend to the sacred cave on Mount Dicta to bring down the laws which his god had placed there for him? From whom did the Spartan lawgiver, Lycurgus, himself say that he had obtained his laws? From no other than the god Apollo. The Roman legend, too, in honoring Numa Pompilius as the people's instructor, at the same time ascribed all his wisdom to his intercourse with the nymph Egeria. It was the same elsewhere, and to make one more example, this from later times, Muhammad not only believed himself to have been called immediately by God to be the prophet of the Arabs, but declared that he had received every page of the Quran from the hand of the angel Gabriel.